Building a personal brand. Let's talk about how you can do it. The easy steps that I would recommend anyone to take regardless of where you are on your personal branding journey. Last time we met, we were talking about why building an intentional personal brand is so important. If you haven't watched this video and if you're still on the fence, here is a link to it, so watch it. Also a link in the description so that you can find it there too if that's more convenient for you. So now that we're all on the same page and we understand the value that building an intentional personal brand can bring into your career, let's get started. If we haven't met yet, hi, my name is Masha. I'm a career strategist helping you advocate for yourself and grow your career strategically. Make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel if you are a fan of working smarter, not harder. All right, so personal branding. I like to break it down into 3 different categories using the pie model. First, we have P, performance, I, image, and then E, exposure. You're probably very focused on your performance, and rightfully so. We all want to be top performers and we want to add value to the organization that we're working at, etc. We want to prove ourselves, and we think that by doing that, that will progress our careers on its own. I have bad news for you. Harvey J. Coleman, in his book Empowering Yourself, talks about the performance only attributing to 10% of your professional success. 10%. The other 90 is here. Image is 30 and then exposure is 60. And exposure, image is pretty self-explanatory. Exposure is your network. Who do you know? You may remember me describing a personal brand in the other video, in the why video, as what people say about you, how they describe you in the rooms that you're not in. So what people say about you is the 30%, and then the actual people that are saying it and the access to the rooms that they have is the exposure. That's the 60%. Probably makes sense now. So this pie model is going to guide us through this personal branding strategy. Of course, we want you to be a top performer. Of course, we want you to be really good at your job. However, we want you to be also more strategic about how people perceive you and what people are in your network. So we're going to work on that. The first step is identifying what do you want to be known for, right? Figuring out what is going to be your personal brand, why do you want it to be that, etc. So really sit down and reflect with yourself. How do you want these people to describe you in those rooms that you're not in? Like, how do you want people to describe you? Ideally, you want to boil it down to a few adjectives, let's say 3 to 5, that describe your work and your work ethic, and up to 3 things that are your strengths. Let's only limit it at 3 things. So we have 3 to 5 adjectives describing your work ethic and who you are, how you work, your performance, and then we want up to 3 strengths that people talk about in the rooms that you're not in. So what are those things? Really do a reflection, brain dump, etc., and boil it down to only 3 that you are really care about, that you want to be known for. Then we want to move on to step number 2, which is assessing your current brand. As we talked in the other video about why personal branding is important, you already have a personal brand and you want to figure out what it is and what the gaps are, right? So basically do an analysis of what people perceive you as. Ask your colleagues, ask your friends, and use the same criteria that we used for how you want to be perceived. Use them here. So ask them to name up to 3 strengths that you're known for or that they see in you, and then 3 to 5 adjectives that they would describe you as, that they would use to describe your work ethic or performance. Once you receive that data, you can analyze what gap there is between what you're currently perceived as and what you want to be perceived as in the future. Now, here comes the tricky part. We now want to close that gap. We want how you are perceived right now to move towards the perception that you want to create for yourself. And of course, you want to make sure that the perception that you have created for yourself is in line with your personality. If you're an introvert and you want to be known for extroverted qualities, you have to understand that it will take a lot of energy and might not make you super happy. So, the thing that you want to be known for needs to align with who you are, and otherwise it will be harder to maintain. Once you understand this gap, create a plan of action on closing it. So first of all, we have the adjectives, right? What people describe you as, and then the strengths. The strength will clearly demonstrate some of the skills that you might need to brush up on, some of the skills that you might want to build, etc. So, it's a pretty self-explanatory exercise. However, it might take some time, right? And building a new reputation might take some time. However, people will perceive you from your ethics, people will perceive you from those skills, etc. And you want to make sure that you are making it known that this is something that you're building, this is something that is your new strength, etc. We will get into it in a second. I had to check that the camera is still on. Yes, the camera is still on. The battery is low, so I was worried. And yes, I'm blind. Now on to crafting your image. What people know you for. So you have identified what you want to be known for. Right now it is time to communicate those things. You want to make sure that people notice you for those things. And that may mean communicating those strengths, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, by taking on projects that demonstrate them. See what I mean? So for example, let's say you want to be known for your analytical skills, and there are a lot of projects that you can take within the organization, and you take on something where your analytical skills that you have just recently brushed up on, they can really shine, and people, managers, leaders, peers can recognize you for these new skills and recognize you, in front of the whole organization. Oh, great job, well done, I'm really impressed by your analytical skills, etc. The more people are voicing it for you through projects, the better. But however, in performance reviews or in other presentations, make sure that you are highlighting that. I will create a separate video on how to communicate your skills without being perceived as braggy, but also how to have confidence when talking about your strengths. So stay subscribed, making sure that you don't miss that video. However, back to the image. So you want to make sure that your skills are being communicated. The other thing that you can do in order to demonstrate some of those skills, or become known for a certain thing, is to start creating events, trainings, going to conferences as a speaker, etc. Starting small. Right? For example, you can run an analytics masterclass within your organization, like a little training, right? This demonstrates to people that you're the go-to person for this thing. Or let's say you really care about the advancement of women in technology. Go speak at an event and make sure that your colleagues know. Maybe it's an internal event. Everybody will see your performance and they will know that you care about this topic. Or go externally and make sure that you communicate it to your colleagues, to people who are higher up, because all of these things, they kind of add up and they create that image. Finally, one more thing that I want to touch upon with image is credibility. You want to make sure that whenever you're communicating these skills, these strengths, you want to make sure that there is something to back it up. Credibility. Your credibility will build over time. That's experience, right? So for example, you have had 2 years of doing data analytics. You must know what you're talking about. You are a credible expert in the field. However, there are also shortcuts that you can strategically find that will gain you this credibility faster, so that you don't have to spend 2 years doing something. It's something that I talk to my clients on a case-per-case basis, because it's very hard to give you an umbrella shortcut, essentially. So that's image. Now on to exposure and the network that you are building for yourself. This is something that we are not as proactive about as we probably should be, or at least some of us. Probably the majority of us are not as proactive about it as we should be. There's so many different ways to network, and maybe as part of building your image, you will be exposing yourself to some key people in the industry, key decision makers, people that you want to be building relationships with. But ultimately, networking should be seen as building relationships with people. It should not be transactional. It should be making friends. It should be seen as connecting with another human, because those are the kinds of relationships that will get you to be mentioned in those rooms, right? It's not transactional. It is human to human. It is, oh my God, that person is amazing. I love them. So whenever you are networking, make sure that you are approaching it from that standpoint. I have other videos on networking. I will leave a link to how to start networking and networking tips in the description, and also over here if you're interested. But basically, you gotta start being proactive about networking and set up regular networking events, networking, windows, etc. Go to events. Basically, you want to make sure that you are putting your networking, strategic networking, right? We're not just networking with anyone and anything. We're going to industry events that are specific to you. We are looking out for opportunities to network with people who are in the same field that you are interested in. And you never know where these connections can lead you. However, we want to make sure that it is networking on the regular basis. It's like a habit. It's a system that you build into your world, because otherwise, if you don't, you'll never end up doing it. We have to build these habits. We have to build these systems for ourselves in order to succeed and get ahead. So yeah, that is how you can build a personal brand that doesn't necessarily involve posting on social media all the time and just drowning in the amount of content that you have to create, because these algorithms are just so hungry for more content and it's hard to navigate, etc. And something that you can build into your job. That's the beauty of this pie model. And it breaks it down so simply into, these different buckets that it is so much easier to think about your personal branding. It is so much easier to be strategic and intentional about it. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments below, and give it a like if you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like me to expand on, please let me know in the comments below. I'm always listening, and we also have great conversations within the community tab. Make sure you go ahead and check it out and leave your questions there, or, join the conversation. Like this video if you've enjoyed it, because it really helps with the algorithm and it helps spread my message across. It helps support me and what I do, and I really appreciate you for doing that. If you want to have an accountability buddy during this process, send this video to them so that you can both start creating your personal brands. And if you want to find out more about the materials, the more in-depth materials, the exercises, etc. that I'm creating, the link will be in the description of this video. So go ahead, scroll down and find the most recent updates of what I have created, because at the moment I'm planning a live masterclass, and then it's going to turn into a course. And so I don't know when you're watching this video. If you're watching this early enough, there's a live masterclass. If you're watching it later, it's going to be a course. So I just being transparent here. So if you scroll down into the description, you will find information on the status of those materials. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate you, and I'm so happy that you're ready to be strategic about your career, working smarter, not harder. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if that's something that you associate yourself with. All right, I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a wonderful time today you're currently experiencing. Bye.